Hi everyone. This week we're going to start a new art project. The art technique we're going to use for this project is called Pointillism. Pointillism is an art movement that branched off of the Impressionist movement. It began in the 1880s, and the two artists that pioneered or began the movement were Georges Seurat and Paul Signac. Here's two pictures of them right here. Pointillism is an art technique that uses dots of color that are unmixed. These dots are placed next to each other, so you can see they're next to each other on this little grass. The viewer's eye is supposed to blend them together when looking at the artwork. You may have to stand back a little bit in order to see what the artwork is displaying though. So that picture I just showed you is actually this artwork right here. Sometimes pointillism uses a technique called optical mixing. For example, if you want to color an area of green in your painting, instead of using a green marker, you could use small dots of yellow, blue, and green to create the appearance of green on your artwork. Let's look at this painting by Paul Signac called Women at the Well. When you zoom in on this painting, you can see all the distinct colors. There are close-ups of the grass and the woman holding the pot. When you use a lot of different colors together next to each other, it creates the illusion of mixed colors or shading. So if we step back and we look at this artwork, those blues that were used in this pinkish purple skirt created shading within it. So you can use these dots of colors to mix colors together or create shading. This painting here is a classic example of pointillism artwork. The oil painting is called A Sunday Afternoon at the Island of La Grande Jatte. It also happens to be Georges Seurat's most famous painting. The image may be familiar to you. It's a huge painting, standing at almost 7 by 10 feet large. Here's an example of one of Seurat's figures. Look at all the dots that make up the portrait. Notice how there's a bunch of colors. So you can see a flesh tone, a red, an orange, blue, green, a dark color. There's so many colors that's inside his artwork. Here's some other examples of Georges Seurat's artwork. A few more. Here's some examples of Paul Sinac's artwork. I feel that his art is much more vibrant than Seurat's. Let's look at some. A few more. You can see how it pops a little bit more than Seurat's. So, hopefully last week you've completed that color wheel worksheet, the one that you take the yellow, red, and blue and try to mix the colors, how I was trying to explain earlier with optical color mixing. Majority of you guys turned this in, but if you didn't, make sure to turn it in on Google Classroom. If you're a little bit afraid to start your artwork, I would suggest practice blending colors on your sketchbook or on a piece of paper. Use different colors, place them next to each other, see what kind of colors it makes. Depending on how close you put the dots, you can get a darker shade or a lighter shade. So the more spaced out the dots are, the lighter the color will be when you step back. For this artwork, you're going to sketch out some plans for your idea of your pointillism artwork. Make sure to have a few different ideas. Maybe the more that you sketch, the better your ideas will get. Who knows? The subject matter for this project is open. You can draw whatever you want. Maybe you want to draw a landscape, an animal, or some food, or a fictional creature. Here's some examples from a previous year in Ms. Nebecker's class. When you start out your project for pointillism, I would suggest sketching it out on your drawing paper. Make sure your drawing is lightly drawn with a pencil. That way you'll be able to cover it up with the dots afterwards using your markers. So once you got your sketch laid out on your drawing paper, start to color it with the markers. You're going to use markers in order to color in your sketch. You're only going to be using dots. Make sure, because pointillism is using dots, don't forget. There are supposed to be no lines or solid coloring. So you're going to use just the dots to color in your artwork. Do use different colored dots next to each other to create shading and different colors. Just a reminder, be careful. If you get too rushed, then your dots will become lines instead. So if you place too many dots next to each other, then it may become like a solid line. We want to steer away from that. Okay, you guys can get started on your project. Good luck.